Andrew, who runs the world?
Even if I knew all their names, I wouldn't say it here. I believe that powerful people try their very best to inflict their worldview and their goals and desires on the general populace. These people have companies with millions of people, or they own countries. They want people to comply. And the reason people have to comply with them is because these people own all the important resource, they own all the important land, they print the money, they own the media, they own the information, and they want to make sure that everybody agrees with them and complies with them. So they have tried very hard to damage the human psyche to the point where we are now completely empty and open for all forms of slave programming. They tried to convince us to ignore our own eyes and our own ears. They convince you to look at somebody and not be sure what gender they are, or to look around you and pretend you're in a pandemic when everything is fine. They convince you that your own brain is the enemy and that you must just only consume what you are told. Because once they do that, once they can convince you to do something as crazy as ignore your own eyes, then they can simply slot in any USB stick of slave programming at random, whatever they want you to currently believe. Whether it's to believe this particular war is a good idea, or staying in your house and destroying your own business is a good idea, or gassing X amount of the population because they're a different religion is a good idea. That's how it works. So the people who are in charge of the world, whatever they want to do, they want to make sure everybody complies and listens to them. They don't want anybody's morals or religion or point of view standing in the way. They just want you to comply. I really believe we're living at a pivotal point in history. As AI gets better, as technology gets better, as they get more and more control over the money and the way people think and the way people move, I think that absolute slavery and tyranny is coming to the entire world. I think our children's children will live as slaves. I think the idea of social mobility will be absolutely and utterly destroyed. You're going to be born into a class, and that's where you're going to belong and stay. If you say the wrong thing or think the wrong thing, you're going to be punished for it. And I think this is one of our last chances to fight. And I think it's a battle of good versus evil. It's genuinely God against the demons. And I know that I'm on the side of God, and I'm a strictly religious person. And I couldn't live with myself if I didn't talk. At the height of the media attack, I was the most Googled man on the planet. I don't know how many.
More than Alec Baldwin, more than Will Smith.
More than Donald Trump, more than Putin in the middle of this war, more than Joe Biden, more than the Kardashians, more than everyone else. The most Googled man on the planet. I understand that you get 3 strikes in this game. Strike 1 is they try and shut you up and discredit you, which I've just been through. Strike 2 is they try and put you in jail for no reason. And strike 3 is they kill you. And one of my strikes is now gone, and I now firmly believe that they're going to try and kill me because they want me to be quiet, and I'm not being quiet. And I have huge amounts of influence, which is what they're scared of. They dislike me not just because of what I say, because everybody knows what I say is true, but because of the huge amount of influence I have, and also the influence I have over the one demographic they're most fearful of, which are the young military-age males. They're the demographic that they need to keep under control the most, because those are the ones who will lead a revolution. Those are the ones who are naturally rebellious. Those are the ones you need to fight in your armies. Those are the ones you need to be the backbone of the slave force and build the roads for a shit wage. Those are the ones you need to sit in a sexless marriage and raise kids while they're depressed and turn up and pay their taxes anyway. That demographic is the backbone of the economy, of the defense of a nation. They're the #1 enemy to the state if they decide to get in a big group together. So they're scared of men free thinking, and they're scared of young men free thinking. And my fans are young military-age males, and I teach them to free think. So they look at me and they literally see me as a threat to the world. If you make the youth think, you're an enemy to the establishment. It's always been the same. I'm also very understanding that societies to a degree need to be controlled. Obviously, you can't have every secret out there in the open. But I think that the direction that the West is going especially is truly evil, and I think that somebody needs to stand up and talk about it. I think the things they're trying to convince people to believe and do are not the way that God wanted us to live.
And where's this come from, this tyranny and this future slavery?
Well, I think power is always going to corrupt. We're not perfect creatures. And I think when you start getting mass amounts of influence and power, it's very normal and natural to get to a point where you just want to be completely and utterly obeyed. And also there's a huge ego trip. And when I say ego, people think, oh, that's a bit of a juvenile way to boil down the world. But I don't think it is. I think that if you're born into a billionaire family and your family's been important since the dawn of human time, that you get a massive ego trip from people complying, and people not complying is a big deal to you, right? You're king. Look at the olden days. If you looked at the king wrong, you'd chop your head off, right? What else is going to make somebody at that level happy besides an ego trip? You think money's going to make him happy? You think you can buy a Ferrari and smile? These people print money. They're above money, right? They believe that they're literally a different species than everybody else. We're peasants. We're ants. We're nothing to these people. So if they tell you to do something, you better do it. So if you stand up and say, that's dumb, then they go, whoa, 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 who's the big mouth? Oh, this ant's smart. And they'll find a way to check you. So it's kind of not defeatist. It's kind of like you come to terms with the scenario. Am I going to sell my soul and live longer and have less of an impact on the world and know that I'm aiding the devil in its intentions? Or am I going to live a shorter amount of time and do my absolute best to be a positive force for the world and be remembered as such? And I think that God will reward me for that. So it's just, you come to terms with the reality that there are enemies too powerful to fight and there's nothing you can do.